Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Two things that I've been thinking a lot about lately is training frequency. So how many times per week are you training? And also what your foundation of health looks like. So these are quite interrelated, but I think we can really optimize our outcomes based upon these two factors. So first of all, with frequency of training, what I'm talking about is how many times per week are you coming in and doing a pack strength or a pack skill session or a savage session? And is that the optimal amount for you? I see some problems with people training actually too much. And the problem with training too much for where you're currently at is that you're going to run yourself into the ground and you're going to ask something to break down, whether it's a part of your body, i.e. an injury, or whether it's like your immunity and you get sick, okay, or just overall inflammation and you get joint soreness and whatnot. And then on the other flip side of that is obviously not training enough, not giving your body enough stimulus to get the changes that you really want to create. So that's training frequency and why it's important. And then your foundation of health, what I'm talking about there is I see people pushing themselves because we like to push ourselves. Perhaps the training frequency is too high, but they just don't have that foundation of health. What I'm talking about with foundation of health is I'm really talking about your patterns and your behaviors outside of training. So it's really important that your body just knows stress. Everything is stress. It doesn't differentiate between training stress versus work stress versus relationship stress. It's all just stress on the body. So if we don't have a really strong foundation of health, we are going to be more fragile and not able to tolerate such a high frequency of training. So things that we're talking about with foundation of health is your sleep quality, okay? Because that's where most of your recovery is going to happen. So how is your sleep? Okay, is it pretty consistently enough and you're waking up feeling somewhat refreshed and regenerated, mind, body, spirit? Or are you having to drag yourself out of bed and just feel completely overwhelmed with the day? Okay, both are possible. So what is that foundation of sleep looking like at the moment for you? And then how are you nourishing yourself? Are you eating like an adult? Are you lots of whole foods, fairly consistent meal times, not skipping meals? Or are you eating like a kid? Okay, trying to eat on the go, eating processed foods, and just being sporadic. Okay, so where do you sit on that foundation? And then also, where is your mindset at? How do you perceive the stress going on in your life at the moment? Okay, all of these things form that foundation of health. So the first and foremost thing that we really want before we start pushing ourselves and pushing that frequency up with training is having that foundation of health. And if there's anything there that you can improve, then focus on that before you start adding layers of stress by adding in more training. Once that is pretty consistent, then you can think about, okay, how much training do I need to get the outcome that I want? Now, I'm speaking very generally, but most of us just want the outcome of feeling good about ourselves, of feeling a little bit stronger, maybe feeling a little bit more toned in our bodies. And that might not require as much as you think. There's a difference between going to the gym because you're addicted to that feeling versus going to the gym, performing your movements with intention and intensity and getting the outcomes that we want. Okay, our bodies need to recover from the work that we did to perform and to feel good. So that relationship of frequency is going to look a little bit different for each of us, and also might change as we go through different periods of health. At the moment, my sleep has been quite shocking. So my training frequency has been probably a little bit lower than what I would normally like it to be, and also a little bit less intense. Whereas once I start sleeping again, okay, I'll be able to ramp things up again. So that's just an example of how things may fluctuate. Okay, someone with that's been training a lot longer with strength training, you might be able to handle a higher frequency. And then generally, the older we get, okay, once we get past 40 and so, then we may start needing a little more recovery between sessions. So there's all of these factors. Okay, so the first thing to really ask yourself is, what does my foundation of health look like? Is there some improvement there that I can make? Because that is going to make the biggest difference to the training that you are doing, and also just to how you feel. Once that is in check, then how many times per week should I be training? How many times do I need to be pushing myself to get the outcomes that I want? Is it 2 times per week? Is it 4 times per week? Not many of us probably need more than 4 times per week of strength training, okay? Unless you're training for a bodybuilding competition or something like that, it's unlikely that anything more than that is going to be a positive for you. Okay, there's obviously the psychological component of turning up to a session where you know people, the social aspect of it, the cortisol, adrenaline aspect of it. But you need to differentiate that between how you actually want to feel ongoing. So hopefully that is a little bit of insight and lets you ask a couple of questions about yourself and where you're at in this journey. Feel free to shoot me any questions. I love talking about this stuff, as you can probably tell, and would really love to help you optimize that frequency versus that foundation of health.